welcome back to the HSP Highly Sensitive Person video series. Symptoms of overstimulation. This is based on my experience after getting a little bit overstimulated during the holiday season. And I know this is something that happens to the best of us. Highly sensitive people are individuals for whom the volume is sort of turned up on one or more of the 5 physical senses, and who actually experience a response in their nervous system to the physical senses and the stimulus that comes in through the senses. For me, as an HSP, my most heightened senses are sight and sound. So I'm prone to overstimulation of these senses. And here are the symptoms that I experience when I am overstimulated. One of the first things that I'll notice is I sort of lose interest in some of the higher order things of life, like, art or my relationships. Like, I sort of go into kind of like a survival mode. In general, I feel extra sensitive when I'm overstimulated. The volume's always turned up a little bit, but during these times, it's like the volume is really, really turned up. And it's very, very intense. So like typically as someone who's very sensitive to visual stimuli, I don't tend to like a lot of lighting. Like I tend to mostly use fairy lights and sort of use salt lamps and stuff like that. But when I'm overstimulated, even the fairy lights, like I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I have to unplug those. It's just too much coming in. One of the biggest symptoms of overstimulation, I think, are actually the thought patterns themselves. So when I'm overstimulated, I have thought patterns like, oh, this is too much, like, no, this is too much, like, I'm running out of time, I don't have enough time, I can't handle this, oh my gosh, this is too much, I can't handle this, I need this to stop, I need to get out of here, this is all too much. Like, I didn't distress anyone out there, like, who's listening to this, but like, when I'm overstimulated, I start thinking like that, or like, I can't do this, how am I gonna do this, this is too much, like, that sort of thing. One of the biggest things that I notice is an inability to be present in the moment. So one way that I know that I'm not overstimulated is that I'll be able to approach life like in a very mindful way. Maybe I'm chopping vegetables and I'm just there in the moment with the colors of the vegetables and the smells, and I feel in my body. When I'm overstimulated, it's the exact opposite of that. Like I'm almost like, I might be clumsier, like I'm kind of unaware of what I'm doing. Why? Why does this happen? When we're overstimulated, it's because one or more of the 5 physical senses has taken in more information than we're able to process in real time. So what's actually happening when we're overstimulated is like we're sort of backlogged. It's sort of like the spinning wheel of death on the Mac. Hey guys, you know what I'm talking about, the rainbow wheel, when you've got too many like windows open and too much running in the background. And that's overstimulation for the HSP. Our brain might be trying to catch up and digest a conversation that we had the day before, or a bunch of sights and smells or things like that that we encountered in our environment, and it's trying to catch up. Meanwhile, there's new information coming in, there's new sights coming in, there's new smells coming in. We can't be present with what's coming in because we're still trying to catch up on what's already come in that we haven't had a chance to process. I experience like an aversion to all new stimuli. I love listening to long form sort of YouTube content and stuff like that. But when I'm overstimulated, I'll actually feel like sort of angry, like if I get a notification like, oh, there's a new episode of the astrology podcast or something like that, because it's like some part of me knows I can't take in anything else. So if you're experiencing an aversion to stimulus that's coming in, that can be a key sign. I also experience an aversion toward loud people, loud places. I like my extroverted friends. They balance me, and sometimes I just love their fire and passion. But when I am overstimulated, I turn away. I see one of my extroverted friends, like one of my loud friends, like coming, and I will do anything possible to get away, like to sneakily get away if possible. Like I just can't handle that amount of energy. Irritability. So generally, like, I like people, I'm pretty happy, I'm blessed to have a pretty good life, and I'm not usually like mean or irritable. Like I'm thinking about like an actual moment like that happened recently after the holidays with my roommate's cat, and I was completely overstimulated, and this cat jumps up on the counter and starts meowing excessively because it wants me to pick it up, and I'm like got a million things going on, and I just yell at the cat, "Get away from me!" That is not like who I am, like at my core level, but that is who I am when I'm very overstimulated. So unusual irritability, frustration. When I'm overstimulated, I feel exhausted, but I don't sleep that well. You know, I'll get up like a bunch of times in the night or wake up early, and my mind is trying to figure out a bunch of stuff, and I can't sleep because there's so much going on and there's so much coming in, but I need sleep, and so I become very, very exhausted. A feeling of being rushed or under pressure, even if you aren't actually. There's no one watching you, there's no one seeing if you're getting your stuff done, but you just feel rushed and feel under pressure all the time. Being unable to cope with the daily demands and usual stressors. Like you might even remember like last week, like I had no problem when that person's ringtone went off. Like it was okay, right? I don't know if I can tolerate one more second of that. So like even the usual stimulus or the usual stressors in your life, they feel overwhelming to you. You almost can't cope with them. For me, a sign of overstimulation is I have strong desires to retreat. I can actually begin to fantasize. I definitely have had moments. I will fantasize about like, oh my gosh, I wish I was in a cave far away from everyone, and I'll start to like actually go there in my memory and stuff like that. Just any imagination, any fantasy of being away from everyone, in the dark, you know, in a sensory deprivation chamber, on another planet, anything like that. That's key for me. Key symptoms of being overstimulated. Physical tension in the body, tense muscles, not breathing well, a sense of higher blood pressure or heart rate increasing, very uncomfortable in the physical body. Getting overwhelmed by small tasks or problems. Like, you know, you're taking something out of the fridge and you accidentally drop it on the ground. Maybe it's a grape or something like that, and it's like the whole world has fallen apart because your system is so keyed up. Just one little thing kind of can set you off. For me, it really presents as a repetitive focus on what I need to do that I don't want to do, like maybe an event I need to go to or to-do list in my mind over and over, combined with a feeling of stress. I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, or like, oh, I have to call this person, or I have to go there, or there's this party, and oh my gosh, 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 this has to be done, this has to be just, and then just like total overwhelm, like no engagement, no excitement, like, oh, it's gonna be great to go here, or do this thing, or oh no, this is all gonna be fine. Like how I would normally be when I'm not overstimulated, but just like panic and rage, you know, towards like any stimulus that comes in that was not asked for. An unexpected sight, an unexpected light, unexpected smell, rage. I think as highly sensitive people, or those who love highly sensitive people, one of the very most important things is to be able to recognize when we are overstimulated so that we can take steps to reduce our stimulation and come back to our baseline, so we can be, you know, balanced and do our good in this world and sort of make the world a better place with our sensitivity. And I realize now that, first of all, I didn't even know until recently that I even was a highly sensitive person. And for years, you know, I would, maybe there'd be a holiday or a vacation or something, and afterwards I would just feel so mean. I would just feel like I wasn't myself and just be really irritable, and I would never know like what was wrong. And I realize now, like looking back, that I was always just overstimulated. And if I would have known that, and if I could have named it at the time, I would have known just what to do, you know, to take time away and slow down and things like that. But I didn't know. And so to anybody out there who's experiencing overstimulation, please forgive yourself and understand that living a better life begins with first identifying that you are a highly sensitive person or another person who experiences overstimulation, and secondly, naming it and learning to recognize for you the signs of overstimulation. So if your signs of overstimulation are different than mine, or even if they're the same, let me know in the comments below. And if you're not sure if you're overstimulated, but you were really drawn into this content, I think there's a good chance that you probably are. I want to thank everybody for watching today. Thank you so much. If you found value in today's video, or you think it may value someone that you know, please share the video. It is my goal to reach 10,000 subscribers this year, and we're pretty close, so maybe you can help me reach that goal. Many blessings and namaste.